Hello everyone, my name is Ben Cislaghi. I work at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, and I was supposed to be there tonight to talk to you about freedom. Actually, to talk to you about how I believe that we are not free, and the fact that I'm not there is the actual proof that we're not free because I'm unfortunately busy elsewhere. So I prepared a short video as an introduction to the discourse against freedom as it's being conceptualized today. It's very short. It's got plenty of little experiments that some of you might have heard about already. I really hope that this will serve you well and that you will have a great workshop. Do feel free to write to me in case you have questions or there is anything that you want to discuss further. And thank you again for inviting me.
So, freedom. Um, I I really have no idea what freedom is. I had no idea, but fortunately, I asked the Oracle Google, and I looked at pictures for freedom. So there it is. These are the first six pictures that come up when you type freedom in Google Images, in my Google Images at least, which I'm sure is conditioned by a million ads and um, data that have been sold to Google. But anyway, so there you have it. You have this woman on the left hand side who's breaking off some chains, non better identified chains. Then you have two hands in front of the sun. Now there's a little bit of sun in the first picture too. Then you have two birds live in a cage that somebody must have forgotten open, or maybe they're flying in, not clear. Then there is a woman, then there is a man, and then there are some birds coming out of a people arm or something like that. So apart from the sun symbolism, which is already quite interesting, there's also this bird symbolism, which is quite misleading, to be honest. I mean, when you think about the bird, like free like a bird, there was that song back in the 90s. You probably weren't born yet, but there was a song that said free like a bird, and a bird free, they have to chase, they have to hunt, find the worm, they have to go back home and feed the babies. This bird definitely needs a holiday. They have to build the nest, not to mention that small intercontinental travel that is migration. So yeah, no, not good metaphor. So you might be thinking, well, but that's an animal. We are human beings, and okay, let's talk about the freedom that human beings have, because you might do believe that you enjoy quite a little bit of freedom, right? That you can, at least sometimes, you do what you actually want and like. Is that so? So let's look at this. Let's look at a couple of examples. This is the Amsterdam airport called Schiphol. Some of you might have flown through Amsterdam, and as many public places, they had a small problem. The small problem is that man seems to be very not disciplined when it comes to doing what they need to do in the toilet. So there is a lot of splashing around, and that splashing, actually, that spilling out, is a big problem for many public places because it requires more time to clean and more personnel. So how the Amsterdam airport solved this problem like this? Yes, with a fly, with a little fly. Why? Because men have a natural impulse to try and chase the fly out of the toilet. As absurd that might seem, they registered an 80% reduction on the spillage just with a little fly. But let's look at another example just to see how much freedom we have in behavior. This is the Milgram electroshock experiment, and some of you might have heard about this already. So here's what Milgram did. So the person that you see is not really attached to an electroshock. Okay, this is a person who is a confederate of Milgram. It's a fake electroshock, and then so that's what in the picture is called the student, not a real electroshock again. Then Milgram, who is this researcher from Stanford University, he put one of his, again, another colleague, and that person was called the experimenter, dressed up like a doctor. And then he picks random people, right? And they assign to them the role of the teacher. Now, these people didn't know what was going on. They only knew they were participating in a study. And so they were told to generate shocks to the student when the student was giving a wrong answer. Of course, the student wasn't really being shocked, but that was an actor. And so the actor was pretending to receive the shock. And Milgram tested how far would people go. And so this machine had different intensities, and 65%, actually 75%, there a mistake in the slide over there, continued to the highest level of 450 volts, which on the machine meant death. And all participants anyway continued to at least 300 volts, up to extreme intensity shock. Let me give you another example. This is the street corner experiment. This is a cartoon showing the street corner experiment. So what was done here, this is still Milgram again. What he did, he put a lot of people watching in the sky, just to see if other people would stop and watch as well. Now, this was before iPhones, this was before the internet. This effect is now moderated much more of what used to be. But just to let you know, he did this in Manhattan, and after 2 hours they had to stop the experiment because there were so many people watching in the sky that the traffic could not go through, so the police had to intervene. So were those people really free to walk by? Or they really had no choice but stare up in the sky? Here's another experiment, even crazier. So this starts with a quiz, and you might as well try and answer it. Look at the line on the left. Which of the 3 lines on the right-hand side of the screen you think is of the same length of the line on the left? So let me tell you this again. Which of the lines on the right-hand side is as long as the line on the left? Is it line A? Is it B? Or is it C? So of course it's A, right? And nobody gets it wrong. I mean, it's only 1% of the people normally who get this wrong. But what Hash did, he put people in a group where half of the people were actually his colleagues. And the remaining half were participants who did not know they were surrounded by colleagues of the researcher. And the colleagues essentially all pointed to line B. Yes, to the wrong line. Essentially, they all tried to pretend they genuinely believed that line B was the correct answer. The result is that 75% of the participants agreed with them. Yes, 75% of the participants in the research, when they were put under pressure of pointing to the wrong line, decided to say that B was the correct line, that B was as long as the line on the left. Free? Were they really free to do that? So why would they be free to make, if they were free, why would they do the wrong choice? Well, one explanation is that they were under the influence of one thing called social norms. And social norms are essentially beliefs that you have in your head, okay? Each of us has beliefs. I have a belief of what others do in my family. We all exchange gifts at Christmas, for instance. And I also have a belief of what my family approves and disapproves of. I know that if I don't give gifts at Christmas, it's a mess. Or as another example, I know that when my brother got married, I really wanted to wear a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, but I thought about or my family going, "Oh, Ben, how do you get dressed?" So what I did, I ignore what I wanted to do, and I did what the others wanted me to do. Freedom, not that much. And there is evidence that social norms influences smoking, how much we smoke, how much we drink, how much drug we use, what we eat and how much we eat, how much physical exercise we do. And a series of weird experiments have been done. So, for instance, it influences how much people steal from natural parks. It influences whether people reuse the towel at the hotel. It influences whether people wear condoms. When you think about it, on the one hand, yes, if we believe everyone else does it, well, maybe we actually are not so free to just do it as well, right? This is why McDonald's says, "Oh, we've been serving over 5 billion hamburgers." Well, if 5 billion hamburgers have been sold, they must be really good, right? And then there is that thing that I mentioned, peer pressure. So everyone is smoking, everyone is drinking, everyone thinks that drinking is cool, and even if I don't realize, in the back of my mind, I'm still trying to please the people that I want to impress, the people that I want to be my friends. And I'm also trying to avoid that gossiping or that being laughed at that comes when you do not do what the others are doing and what they want you to do. And it's awkward and you are isolated. So, or it can also have severe consequences, like you can be beaten up, right? So, why is that? Why do we have these norms? Where we do have them because at a certain moment in history, in our evolution, all of a sudden somebody started to say, "Hey, do you want a hand with that log, with that tree?" So this is the moment in which our species did an evolutionary jump. So we became ultra social beings. And what that means is that we are capable of interacting in the number of hundreds members of our species, even when these members are not in the same family. And it's only human beings and one particular species of red ants. So we needed these norms to signify to others that they were doing the right thing or not. And this evolved way before we had language, right? Because you can look at someone and go like, okay, so now that we said all this, let me just think about freedom again, because you might be thinking, oh, this is all bad. I'm not free to do what I want because the others are influencing the way I think, what I do, and sometimes even when I'm not conscious. And well, yes, but the problem is that absolute freedom, as we understand it today, is achievable only when you are totally independent from the others. So this idea that I can do what I want and that's what's important. It's important for me to be free. Well, you can't be free unless you're totally alone and you build walls around you. But that's not how we survived for tens of thousands of years. The way we made it is by working together and collaborating. So this idea that we need to be free is to be challenged, and challenged with the idea that yes, we need to be free, but not as individuals, but as a group. So the real freedom is really understanding the ways in which we can be free to work together in a way in which we can achieve greater happiness for everyone in our group. And I underlined the word group. I believe, and I hope that you do as well, that the group that we really need to collaborate with is called species. And we're not doing this that well at this particular moment in history. I really hope that you enjoy this short talk. I'm sorry again that I couldn't be there with you today, but I really wish you the best in this great workshop. And do feel free to write me if I have further questions. Thank you.